She made this video talking about the election with Zoran Mamdani. Um, Let me see. Okay. Um, so
Just tapping in to say, fuck all that whisper in the wind shit. I'm gonna say it right to you, okay? If you still support the Democratic Party as it currently stands, you too are an enemy of true progress. What Zoran Mamdani just showed all of us is that being anti-genocide is good politics. Talking about the affordability and the housing crisis is good politics. Actually having real progressive policies that meet the needs of the voters you're trying to reach is good politics. And you know what the Democratic Party did? They spent a lot of money, about to spend even more, trying to make sure that he doesn't become mayor. What the Democratic Party and a lot of its apologists are missing is that we need strong coalitions in order to win. That means that if people are telling you that, hey, maybe you should stop killing my family members, maybe y'all should listen to that. If people are saying that healthcare is unaffordable in the richest country in the world, maybe we should listen to that. It doesn't mean that we have to do the whole laundry list of things all at once. But it does mean that you have to be able to move to where your base is. It is not the job of voters to move to the party. It is the job of the party to meet the needs and to actually speak to the concerns of the people they want to vote for them. And speaking of coalitions, if you're one of those leftists right now that are trying to say, oh my God, this win is a red flag, we're supposed to win, y'all. We're supposed to win, y'all. And in order for us to have a strong and interdependent coalition, y'all need to stop being assholes in order for that to happen. It's the truth. Because what this moment just showed us is that it does not matter what decades of propaganda, it does not matter about organized money, it does not matter what the establishment wants. If we can organize people, we can take a present moment of transformation and actually leverage it for something good. But if we're all, we're gonna fumble the bag every time. Electoral politics is not the end-all be-all, but it is an entry point. And if we are trying to build a movement that is centered around people, that means we need to meet them where they're at. If you made it this far into the video,
all right. So Mike, what's your thoughts, man?
Truth. I mean, she's onto something that I've been aware of for decades, and that is electoral politics is only one tool in the box. All right. It's not the end all and be all, but then direct on the street action is not the end all and be all either. You have to use them both in tandem. Okay. It's like Malcolm X when he met Dr. Martin Luther King, and Malcolm X was telling him, look, I'm the guy who's coming off like the crazy radical so that they'll accept you and what you have to say much more easily, or words to that effect. Okay, it's not an exact quote, but that's basically the gist. So it's kind of like the same thing with direct action versus electoralism. It's like you need both of them in tandem working together so that even in Cuba during the Cuban Revolution, okay, the reason Che Guevara is dead is not just because of the CIA capturing and executing him, although that is the direct cause. But the reason he's dead early is because whereas Fidel Castro, once the Cuban Revolution had been pulled off, he set himself to the work of actually building the society that Cubans needed. Whereas Che Guevara, he wanted to keep fighting the revolution and export it to other countries. And actually got himself kind of like in a position where Fidel was like, yeah, good luck. Please let the door hit you on the way out. But you're going.
Yeah.
You're going.
Yeah.
So good luck. And then of course, Che being Che, got himself in trouble and got captured. So, and the rest, as I say, was history. So, you can't just be, only about fighting the revolution. You have to actually be willing to carry out the actions of actually building an electoral movement so that, once a revolution is pulled off, then you've got the groundwork laid for actually forcing politicians to do as you want them to. And you're not going to do that by completely blowing off electoral politics. You have to be willing to run candidates in elections, whether it's in the Democrats or a third party or whatever. Andrew Cuomo was announcing his independent bid, and if you think Democrats aren't going to rally around him, I've got news for
Yep.
you. They've got no problem ditching vote blue no matter who, as long as the independent or third party candidate is a right wing extremist.
That's what I'm saying. Yep.
So even though Zoran Mamdani did win the Democrat primary, but he still has to run in the general. So, this is something that has to be, it has to be a constant fight in both arenas, because otherwise
Yep.
you're only doing half the battle.
Yep. That's
And if
true.
Heaney gets that,
Yeah. A lot of my comrades on Twitter, they on the ditch electoral politics train.
yeah,
And
yeah, RBN especially, they're really, I think, cynical and pessimistic about electoral politics. But the way I see it, independent politics, yeah, you can and probably should try and run as a third party or independent candidate, but sometimes that's not always feasible. Sometimes you have to run inside the party and be willing to piss people off. I mean, David Hogg, he's just a regular run-of-the-mill Democrat, but he made a very reasonable suggestion. Hey, maybe we should actually, have some of the older people step aside finally and let some of the younger crowd have their turn, because obviously the party is in a bad place right now. It's getting to the point that it has to take out loans just to stay open, because the donors have all gone back over to the Republican Party.
Yeah.
Because they don't see any benefit to running with Democrats if they're just going to keep blowing what should be easily winnable elections to candidates who, are basically clown shoes.
And the crazy thing about David Hogg is that was just a mild critique. And
yeah.
you see how the establishment
still kicked him out.
Yeah. So yeah, you know that, they're gonna do anything in their power to make sure Chris Cuomo comes out on top. Like, I should have known that that COVID killer, yeah, I said it, because he killed a lot of old people in the old folk home. Like, that's what we say in the South. Nursing home. Um, you know, yeah, like,
yeah, he abandoned people in nursing homes to die of COVID.
Exactly.
Typical right wing survival of the fittest kind of bullshit mentality, because they don't understand Darwin, just like they don't understand Marx.
Exactly. Just like about Zoran, I get why he ran in the Democratic Party, because New York got weird laws. Like, they make it harder for outside parties to run. Like, Jill Stein admitted that.
And the interesting thing, though, is that the Roosevelt family started off as Republicans. They ended up switching over to the Democrats when Franklin, who was like, I think he was like one of Theodore's younger cousins. But he ran as a Democrat because he found it more politically expedient to run as a Democrat. But this was like 100 years ago, back when political parties were not the institutions that they are today, where it's like party loyalty above all else. No, it's like whatever political organization that gets you into office so that you can implement the agenda that you have on the table, that's where you run. Mm-hmm. And even Theodore Roosevelt, had no problem running third party. He helped start the party in 1912 after he not failing to get the Republican nomination against William Howard Taft, and he actually made Taft, the incumbent, place last in a 3-man race.
Yeah,
and permanently shifted the ideological makeup of the Republican Party, because the progressive wing of the Republicans flocked over to the Progressive Party and the Democrats. By 20 years later, when Franklin Roosevelt won the presidency, the progressive wing had moved over and taken over the Democrats, although it still maintained a very business-friendly Dixiecrat wing
Yeah.
that never was fully defeated, and unfortunately took the party back over starting in the late 60s, early 1970s. So,
Right.
then I think people forget that Jimmy Carter was one of the early leaders of the Democratic Leadership Council, which was this very southern Dixiecrat wing of the party that uh, used that to stage a resurgence.
Yeah. That's true. Um. Okay. Um. I have a question though about Zoran. Since we on the topic. Do you think he will fulfill half of his promises, or you'll think it'll just be another LC type deal?
We'll see. I would like to hope that he at least tries, and I think this is something that politicians from any major political party tend to forget, is that voters will forgive a politician who tries and fails to implement his agenda or her agenda, but they won't forgive a politician who doesn't try at all and who makes it clear that he was just using people to get elected. Uh, the thing about politics is you have to be willing to take the risks and take the slings from trying. Like I said, people will forgive you if you try and fail because they don't expect miracles from you, but they do expect you to at least make an. And I think people will be a lot more forgiving of someone who tries and gets roadblocks put up in front of him, but keeps trying, as opposed to someone who just gives up and just goes along to get along. And I'm worried that Mamdani will be one of those Democrats who just finds it more expedient to go along to get along. But we'll see
Me
what
too.
happens. I would be very interested to see if he even tries. If he does,
Yeah.
then I think there's a little bit of room for hope. But at the same time, uh, I think we need to make it clear that even though we should support Mamdani if he does actually try to implement the policy changes that he's proposing, but we also need to be clear that just because Mamdani is making a genuine effort to reform the party, that doesn't mean that the party itself is willing to be reformed. They may give him a boot. They certainly will try to defeat him in the general election using Cuomo. And if they can't defeat him in the general election, then the state house Democrats will join with the Republicans in the state house to try and block his legislative agenda. And he's going to have
Yeah.
to work really hard, and we're going to have to keep the pressure on him to fight and let him know, look, we've got your back as long as you've got ours. As long as you fulfill your campaign promises, we'll make sure that you get reelected. But if you fuck it up, if you betray us like Obama did,
Oh
then
yeah.
you're toast. And that's what
And
I
that.
think people need to make clear to any politician, whether it's Mamdani or Ocasio-Cortez or Sanders or whoever. Politics is transactional.
Yeah.
Candidates are not entitled to your vote without having first done something to earn those votes.
Right. That's true. That's true. And that's all we asked the squad to do. Like we know they were the minority in the Democratic Party. Like all they had to do was at least fight, at least try to fight. Then they wouldn't get as pushback as they do now. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like
and also
force the
what they
vote
needed was
wasn't.
a united front, to hold together. There is strength in numbers, and one of the reasons why the
Yeah.
squad failed was because they got elected individually, but then they started acting individually
Yeah.
in Congress and not as a unified bloc. Because
Right.
even if you got maybe a dozen members, but if the ability to pass legislation comes down to those 10 or 12 members, or even just 5 members, and making sure that they're kept happy, then that's power that you otherwise wouldn't have. And they failed to use that power. They didn't unite. Ocasio Cortez immediately, after getting scolded by Pelosi and Schumer, decided, okay, I'm just going to play the game and go along to get along.
Yeah. Yeah. Once she had that, once Nancy Pelosi gave her that, as they said, good talking to, ever since then, man, she
Yeah,
just
and
changed.
yeah, if it had been me in her position, and this is probably why I would never have gotten in, much less stayed in. If it had
Yeah.
been me and Pelosi summoned me, I'd be like, "Bitch, I don't answer to you."
Exactly. Me too, man. Shit. Yeah, they'll probably kick my ass out.
Yeah, yeah.
Like kick
First I
my
would be
ass out,
getting
man.
emails and calls that I would completely ignore. Then Pelosi would send
Uh,
her goons to try and summon me and order me to her office, and then I would make Pelosi actually show up. And the moment
yeah.
she starts trying to threaten me, I'd be like, "Get the fuck out, bitch!"
Yeah, yeah.
It's
Shit.
like
Fuck you.
you want me to you want me to vote for you for speaker? This is what you need to do.
Exactly. Like,
Like, well, I'm not going to do that. It's like,
I
okay,
don't work for
goodbye.
you. I
Yeah,
said I don't work for you, bitch. I work for my people in my district, motherfucker. So you know
yeah.
how
It's
I
like,
get, Mike. Yeah.
yeah,
Shit.
it's like with Thomas Massey. I mean, and Thomas Massey is a right wing motherfucker. Okay,
Oh yeah.
He's
100%.
your regular garden variety Republican asshole. All right, a complete dick, a Timmy, if you will. Uh, but
Oh boy.
but if you but if you actually look at his record on Israel, why is it that he is being better on Israel than the Democrats are? Because even
No
Trump
it.
is yelling and screaming at him and calling him a loser. It's like when you've got Thomas Massey,
Yeah.
who by all accounts shouldn't be in Congress at all, but he's the one standing up and saying, "Hey, look, I don't represent Israel. I represent my district. The one that actually elected me to office."
Yeah.
Why is it falling to a fucking Republican to do that? Why is Marjorie Taylor Greene coming off and
Oh boy.
pretend that
Yeah.
she's anti-war?
Oh my God. Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. Same Marjorie Taylor Greene said to fund the FBI. Like we
Yeah,
know it's platitudes, but why the Democrats ain't saying defund
yeah, and it's like, and then there was an effort to try and impeach Trump in the House. Uh, some Democrats because he went to war unilaterally against Iran without even trying to get Congress involved. And the War Powers Act specifically states that the sole power to declare and manage war lies with Congress, which means the
Yep.
chief executive has to go to Congress and get authorization to go to war. Yes, they got a declaration first. And if we're not going to go into an official war, or instead do a police action like technically Vietnam and the invasion of Iraq were, they were not declared wars, but they were waged with direct authorizations from Congress.
Exactly.
But
Yeah.
now it's at the point where they don't even bother going to Congress anymore. And that's specifically what that attempt to impeach was about. But get this, 118 Democrats or whatever, including my own
Yeah.
representative or non-representative Marcy Kaptur, voted to kill that motion because
Oh
they're so
man.
far up
Yeah.
Israel's collective asses that
Yeah.
they don't even represent the United States. They represent Israel. It's not
Yeah.
supposed to be the United States of Israel. It's supposed to be the United States of America.
Supposed to represent the people. That was your job. Most
Right.
of the people
But
don't
instead,
are anti-war.
are instead our supposedly elected officials are acting like their sole constituency is Tel Aviv.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, is
It,
Caligula Druff the dictator, or is it Benjamin Netanyahu?
sometimes I really believe it's Benjamin Netanyahu, man. I think Caligula Trump is just the mascot. He's playing the
Yeah,
mascot role. You know.
right. Well,
That's
even
why I
Trump
see
is
it
getting
as.
frustrated with Netanyahu because
Oh
they're
yeah.
doing what it wants, and that profanity laden tirade that he went on.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Like,
covered
oh yeah, they don't know
that.
what the fuck they're doing. It's like that's people. have been coming up with all sorts of conspiracy fantasies, like, oh, this was like orchestrated theater to bail Israel out, and no. Trump actually wants to overthrow Iran.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I
Okay,
said. That's what I said
but
in my video.
he's also the sort of narcissist who thinks that, being the chief executive of the United States, that everyone else in the world has to do as he says. All right, because the foreign policy of his first term is basically summed up in the phrase "We're America, bitch." So,
America first.
that is basically explained as other nations do as we tell them. They have no other choice. But now, after 4 years of brain dead Biden and Trump being a lot older and a lot stupider,
God.
it's a situation where nobody is actually doing anything he tells them to. Iran ignores him. Yeah. Russia ignores him. China ignores him. Canada. Israel ignores him. Yemen ignores him. I mean, Yemen sent the United States Navy out of the Red Sea with its tail between its legs because their drones and missiles were able to overwhelm our naval defenses and do significant damage.
Mm-hmm.
So we're in a situation right now where the United States no longer gets to tell the rest of the world what to do.
Yeah.
And Trump is not handling it very well.
Yeah.
And you can tell it in the level of frustration and his endless posts on his social media platform, Lie Social, where truth goes to die. I mean, Truth Social.
Slogan. Hey, that need to be a slogan.
Name, right? But yeah, I mean, if you look at the tone of his tweets, it's they're. I mean, he's always been unhinged when he goes on these tirades. I mean, goes back to when he first got elected in 2016 and started his first regime. But now it's coming across much more obvious that he is frustrated because he's being thwarted at everything he tries to do, whether it's tariffs or wars. Nobody is doing what he's telling them to.
Yeah, they're not listening to him.
And he knows it, and he can't handle it.
Yeah.
And honestly, I don't feel a lick of sympathy for him either, because why would anyone? I mean, he chose to run again.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, you shouldn't have run again if you didn't want to take all this onto yourself, boy. I mean, come on. And dude, I mean, come on. Look, we know you're a pasty-faced white boy, okay? Stop with the fake, all right? I mean, he's going back and forth between the orange spray and the brown spray that makes him look like he's got shit smeared all over his face because he doesn't know which one to go with. Look, I want to look bronze, so I'm going to paint myself orange because I don't know how to actually apply this correctly the way the ladies do. I mean, at least with Jennifer Lopez, when she was going onto the Oscar floor with her own spray on tan, I mean, it was obvious, but at least it looked better because it was applied by professionals. He's got rank amateurs just like spray painting him with the orange stuff, and you can tell, like, where they failed to get around like the toupee or the edges, so it looks like face mask on, and it's like, dude, come on. So so that's really about the only thing he has going for them is being the guy with the spray painted face and hands and
oh Jesus,
and a very obvious dead fox glued to his scalp. And he's like 300 pounds or whatever, and looking at. Meanwhile, and it's not like Vladimir Putin is all that much younger than he is.
Yeah,
but he still keeps himself in fairly good shape for his age.
Yeah. Yeah.
I hate to admit it, but he
does. Yeah.
Especially for a guy who's been battling cancer and recently overcame
prostate cancer, right?
Yeah, I don't know if it was prostate cancer, but yeah, he did go into remission. So But yeah, it's like, I mean, Putin was never going to do as Trump told him, because Trump, and contrary to what people have been claiming, Trump is not Putin's bitch. All right. If anyone is his master, it's Benjamin Netanyahu.
Yeah.
But even that relationship has deteriorated because, unlike Biden, who was too senile to even know what was going on, much less put his foot down. But even if he did have all of what few marbles he had, he still would have just signed off on whatever Netanyahu asked for, because he is a diehard Zionist and actually believes in the Israeli settler colonial project. So,
Yeah.
his regime was all too happy to give Israel whatever it wanted without any strings attached. But Trump is like, look, you have to do what the fuck I tell you, because I'm the dictator of the United States.
Yeah.
And that means I'm the head guy in charge of the entire planet. And he's finding out the hard way. No,
Basically
he's not.
say, fuck you. Basically,
Yeah.
all I'm telling him, fuck you. Man.
Yeah. I mean, China basically, took his tariffs and shoved them straight up his ass, which is why he's been walking funny for the last 4 months. So, so there's that. Russia, realized, look, this clown shoe is just trying to do another Minsk II agreement where Ukraine gets time to rearm and rebuild to restart hostilities up against us later. So we're not going to go for that. We're just now Russia's at the point where we're just going to have to take the whole of Ukraine and denazify it and demilitarize it, because Zelensky's not going to surrender. And the Americans are not honest actors in this. So, okay, fine. So now Iran basically demonstrated over the last couple of weeks that it can actually defend itself. It's been
very well.
uncovering and arresting Mossad agents within the country. It's shown with its missile systems that it can hit Israel and deal out serious damage.
The paper dome
Tel Aviv is feeling very vulnerable right now.
Yeah.
And it should.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not vulnerable enough to stop the genocide, to defend itself against. I mean, imagine, Israeli thugs telling their commanders, "Hey, look, these Iranian missiles are doing a lot of damage, or either killing or injuring a lot of our fellow soldiers. What should we do to defend ourselves?" And the higher ups are saying, "Continue the genocide in Gaza." Yes, sir. It's like,
continue.
You can't reason with a nation of psychopaths who would rather die than not commit genocide.
Right.
You can't reason with psychopaths because they're psychopaths. Their aim is to kill as many human beings as possible before they go down. All right. Ask Ted Bundy, ask Jeffrey Dahmer. They didn't stop until they were stopped. And likewise, Israel is not going to stop unless it's stopped. And Iran, if the regime over there wants to survive,
exactly,
it's going to have to stop Israel by whatever means necessary. If that means, getting the nuclear bomb as a deterrent against further attack, so that there's a balance of power, and any warfare from that point onward has to be conventional, because if it goes nuclear, both nations go up in a mushroom cloud.
Yep.
Mutually assured destruction. Yep. So, I think Iran at this point is going to have to make a decision very soon now, if it hasn't already. Look, this fatwa that the Ayatollah gave us against developing nuclear weapons, we're going to have to rescind it. Yeah. Because this is a matter of survival.
Yeah. To be honest with you, Mike, they should have been and made a nuclear weapon, man.
I say this so-called pause in the fighting. I mean, Israel's attacking Lebanon right now on top of stepping up its attacks on Gaza.
Yeah.
And starving little babies over there.
Yeah. Yeah. And then the craziest thing about when Trump hit Iran is that he oh God, he didn't even touch their nuclear sites. He
I mean,
get a few billions, but
I mean, they
oh my God,
they knew the attack was going to come at some point. They they
were ready.
they were paying attention. It's not like they're so closed off from the rest of the world that
That
they
people
don't know
think.
what's going on. So obviously,
Mm-hmm.
they knew the moment Israel started its war that they would have to move their
The uranium.
uranium and
Yeah.
try and clear the area. So because the facilities are far enough underground that any damage to them is going to be minimal at best, and it'll take maybe a
Yeah.
couple of months to rebuild and get it back up to where it was prior to the attacks, and then of course repair the surface damage up at ground level. But even if they have to move their facilities to a more secure location, I mean, it's under a mountain.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you're not going to get at that unless you can come up with a bomb that's going to destroy a mountain.
That's true. Exactly.
And so, like I said, if Iran is smart, it'll get the bomb and balance out the power dynamics in the Middle East.
Yeah.
Because Pakistan got the bomb, but it hasn't actually really done anything with it. It's not using it as a balance of power. Mainly because India, its next door neighbor, and also a nuclear power, they're focused on hostilities with India, but they haven't really used it as a means of brokering power in the wider Middle East.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
exactly.
And contrary to what some commentators have said, there are good reasons for that, because it is much closer geographically and politically to India, because Pakistan used to be part of India before 1947. But it's basically adopted the position, look, we have to see to things in our own country because we've got instability here at home that we need to address. If we try and get involved in the wider Middle East, that's going to leave us open to even further attempts by the United States and Israel to destabilize our government.
Right.
So, I can't blame Pakistan for not taking full advantage of its nuclear status, but at the same time, you really have to acknowledge that, that there is a reason that it can't really be what Iran is at this point, given the opportunity to become. And unless something changes, and very soon, I think Israel's just going to start another attack the moment it's resupplied itself with sufficient quantities of missiles for its defense system. It's going to start all over again.
Yeah. The ceasefire ain't what Trump expected it to be. Trump said.
Yeah, I know. Israel's
end
not
the war.
abiding by it, obviously, because it's hitting Yemen and Lebanon.
You're right.
And continuing the genocide in Gaza. I mean, I'm seeing way too many photos and videos of 6-month, 9-month, 10-month-old skeletons with skin attached.
Yeah, I seen that earlier today.
One
too.
foot in the grave at the point of no return because they're not getting the food that they need.
Yeah,
and I can't fathom how people can look at that and not only not care, but actively say good. Like, what kind of a psychopath do you have to be to look at a baby, a literal infant, not even a year old, reduced to a skeleton, barely hanging on to life, and not only feel nothing, but actively feel joy about that? And that's what we've got running our nation.
Yeah,
John
that's
Fetterman,
Congress right there, man. Yeah, John Fetterman
cheerleading and bitching and moaning about, they're making us read out the entire bills that we're supposed to vote on. Well, yeah, you should.
Yeah, that's your job.
I mean, more. I forget which one it was. Was it Fahrenheit 9/11 or maybe it was Bowling for Columbine? But one of his documentaries from the late 90s, early 2000s, John Conyers was telling Michael Moore's camera people, like, sit down, son. We don't actually read the legislation that's put before us. If we had to read everything put before us, we wouldn't have time to actually put it up for a vote. It's like,
Stop
And
taking
why
all
are
the
you even
recesses
in
in.
Congress?
Stop taking all the recesses in. They take like
Yeah.
goddamn what 5 or 6 a year.
The Republicans are almost always on recess. They only come together maybe a few times a year, if that. I mean,
Yeah,
as much as I despise the Democrats, they at least pretend like they're in the business of governing,
yeah,
even though it's all horrifically evil governance, but it's still
yeah.
governance. But if you can't do even the bare minimum of reading the legislation that you're being told to vote on, why are you even
Jesus,
in Congress except to collect a paycheck and that's it?
that's all they want to do. Collect that lobby money, and yeah, paycheck from us. We pay their salary, and yeah, that's all it's about, Mike.
Yeah, well, the taxpayers pay their salary.
Yeah,
We do. You and I and everyone who actually pays taxes. The
yeah,
lobbyists and the corporations they work for don't pay any taxes. So
yeah.
that's like
That's how
where the
they go
real
with it.
money comes from.
Yeah,
Because as much as members of Congress are paid, as much as the chief executive is paid, that's peanuts compared to what they get from corporate lobbyists.
oh yeah, and don't forget about the insider trading too.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, I'm telling you, boy. I'm telling you, man. Like, yeah, yeah, yeah. You see why. And you see why there's veterans on the street homeless
Yeah. And,
because
and, and this brings me back to the issue we started with, which is uh, if you're not willing to put in the work, whether it's through a third party or, yes, even within the Democrat Party, as futile an effort as that usually is, but
hmm
just that a guy with a Muslim name and a Syrian wife, although she's got her issues too, and this guy, Mamdani, also has issues with his politics as well. But just
yeah,
that the majority of Democrats who voted in the New York mayoral primary this past week turned out to vote for a Muslim guy who says, hey, we shouldn't be funding a genocide in Israel. And yes, I will have Netanyahu arrested and packed off to The Hague if he comes to New York.
yeah.
And
And that's
says,
base.
no, I'm not going to be going to Israel because my job, if elected, would be to be mayor of New York, not
Yeah,
Israel or Tel Aviv. So I'm going to be staying here to focus on that job.
that's crazy. That's a based answer. Like
And
that.
then
That
you've
should
got
be like
Zionists
okay.
from all parties and the regular Islamophobes and 9/11 uh, exploiting motherfuckers all coming out of the woodwork to try and attack Mamdani as a nefarious jihadist who's going to force Sharia law on New York. And
Oh my
majority of
god.
Democrats who voted in the primary still nominated him to run for mayor because they're fed up with Eric Adams, who's running, by the way, as a Republican.
I ain't no surprise, man.
Yeah. Well, he
That
started
ain't
off
no
as a
surprise.
Republican. He only went over as
Yeah,
a Democrat because Democrats made him a better offer. But
yeah,
now that party's toast, he's going back to being a Republican. So you've got a Republican fascist, then you've got Cuomo now running as an independent fascist, and that's going to split the conservative vote.
yeah.
And the majority of New Yorkers are still very much liberal, albeit
Except for Staten
milquetoast
Island.
liberals, but still liberals. So I think Mamdani still has a chance to become mayor, and I
Yeah,
think he should. Don't get me wrong.
yeah.
I do want to
Oh
see him
yeah,
win.
100%. Yeah.
But we also have
Uh,
to keep in mind that he has an uphill battle regardless of whether he wins or not, because even if he wins, he's going to be up against a united front from both Republicans and Democrats trying to stymie his legislative agenda. And
Oh
so
yeah.
people do need to get involved actively at the local level to say, look, you are supposed to be our members of council. We voted you in, we're going to vote you out. So you either
Exactly.
do what you're told or you're gone.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
want to throw
You're
a
right,
hissy
Mike.
fit and join the other party, let the door
Yeah,
hit you in the ass on the way out.
exactly.
We'll
Yeah, you
still vote
gotta.
you out.
Yeah,
People need to get active in local politics, all right? It doesn't mean that you cannot do direct action on the street. Unholy Rome from RBN is
Got
constantly doing
wrong.
direct action, mutual aid. He brings it. He walks the walk. He's fulfilling the legacy of the Black Panther Party, which not only ran in local and even I don't know if they ran for state or federal elections, but they certainly ran in local elections, which is where all politics begins and really ends anyway. But they were also on the street helping people, whether it was getting shoes on kids' feet who didn't have them
Mm-hmm.
to wear, uh, or getting food for people who were having trouble, getting food assistance, or if someone needed a roof repaired or whatever people needed, they made sure to try and get it. That's the kind of work that Unholy Rome is doing.
Yeah.
And RBN has that part down. But where they're failing, and what Afeni is trying to tell people, is that you cannot ignore the electoral component, because Mamdani's electoral victory shouldn't be denied. And the reasons why he won show that, yes, people are hungry for a candidate who appears authentic and who speaks to the issues that they actually care about. And if you don't take full advantage of that, then obviously he's going to fail. Obviously he's going to get gobbled up by the machine, because you're not actually doing anything to hold him accountable before the election or even afterward. So yes, you can do direct action. Yes, you can do electoral politics, but you have to coordinate it as a cohesive movement. You cannot just treat electoral politics like it's a lost cause. It's not, because if it was, Mamdani never would have won his primary.
Yeah.
And Kanshama Sawant would not be running for Congress as an independent if she thought that electoral politics was a lost cause. Expects to
really,
but she's going to try to anyway, because someone needs to run on the issues and speak to people on the issues that they actually care about, as opposed to like the identity politics, where and don't get me wrong, identity politics done right, is important, because guess what? Black people are working class, trans people are working class, gay people are working class, women are working class.
Yeah.
It's not all just blue collar white guys.
Mm-hmm.
Blue collar white guys are only one small part of the working class. You have to reach out to all of them. So that's where identity politics comes in. But if you're just doing identity politics just to pander to people and you're not backing it up with any action,
that's the Democratic problem.
That's the hallmark of the Democrats, and why identity politics has become so toxic.
Yeah.
But you have to keep in mind, that you have to speak to people on the issues they care about. People can't afford eggs. They can't afford milk, which is, by the way, contaminated with H5N1 bird flu.
Yeah. And plastics in the bread, too. I think. I heard.
Yeah, there's plastic in everything.
Yeah.
People can't afford rent. They can't afford their mortgages. They can't keep the lights on. They can't have air conditioning in the summer under a heat dome because of climate change, because the AC is too expensive.
Yeah.
They can't keep the heat on in winter when it does get cold enough to put the heat on, because they can't afford heating. People are freezing to death in their homes, out on the streets. The homeless population is rising and being violently disappeared, because rather than address a homeless situation by putting people in homes, they're just criminalizing them and pushing them out of sight and mind. That's what people care about.
Yeah. Yeah. You're right, Mike. People are hungry.
So fly those rainbow flags all you want. Fly the Black Lives Matter flag all you want. But if you're not actually putting in the effort to make sure that those minority groups have representation at the table, and not showing that you're willing to defend their rights alongside everyone else's, and all they are to you is just a campaign tool, then obviously you're going to lose, and you deserve to. So, hey, Willie Bragg is here.
Willie, what's up, man?
Says, hi, guys. Hi to you, Willie.
Yeah. Um. Yeah. Supposed to go on Willie's show soon. Again. So yeah, you're right, Mike. Show me some one. I tell people like follow her playbook. Like she's not saying she's not saying, for example, abandoning electoral politics. It's just that it's just road to the Democratic Party, like she said, leads to a graveyard. So
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
then she
yeah.
cares
If you're
about.
gonna,
Then she fights for the issues too. You
yeah,
see what I'm saying? She
and
actually
one thing I think,
fights.
yeah,
Yeah.
and one thing, yeah, Willie's saying, "What's up?" Yeah, well, we are talking politics. That's what's up. Uh,
Well, man.
but yeah, so yeah, we were talking. Afeni, who's very good, by the way. Please go give her a follow. But
Facts and fire, guys.
if yeah, Facts and Fire over on Twitter, uh, Blue Sky, TikTok,
It's
Instagram. Yeah,
everywhere.
she's on all those platforms. Go give her a follow. Very smart woman, knows what she's talking about. Uh, but what Kashama Salwan is saying, and I concur with this completely, is that oh, he says, I just finished live streaming. I follow her already. All right, awesome. Um,
Cool.
yeah, so, but what Salwan is trying to say, and this goes to something that, in fact, you know what? Let me go ahead and see if I can upload a media asset here because this needs to be brought in.
Yeah.
Let's see. Politics. This is Lawrence O'Donnell. Yeah, let me see if I can actually play it because this was said, back in the early 2000s. All right, and it's as true now as it is back then. Uh, but O'Donnell was basically saying, if you're going to swing the Democrats to the left, you have to make sure that they know that you can take your votes somewhere else. So let me go ahead and play the clip here.
If you want to pull the party, the major party that is closest to the way you're thinking, to what you're thinking, you must show them that you're capable of not voting for them.
Because the way the Democratic Party is run now for quite a number of presidential cycles is they pick a nominee in a kind of half-assed process that doesn't really represent much of anybody, and then they tell everybody to just shut up. Don't bring up anything that will complicate life for your nominee. You know he's not for you on this. Why badger him? He's not going to be for you for reasons that you don't understand but are good reasons. Shut up. Turn off your brains.
If you don't show them you're capable of not voting for them, they don't have to listen to you. I promise you that. I worked within the Democratic Party. I didn't listen or have to listen to anything on the left while I was working in the Democratic Party because the left had nowhere.
Yeah, and
Facts, man.
that's yeah,
Yep.
and that's still true today. So what
Yep.
like Shama Sawant and others are saying when they say don't vote Democrat, vote third party, it's not saying that you should never, under any circumstances, vote for Democrats. Although at this point, I don't even bother. But
Either.
if you don't have that outside political candidate from either independent or leftist third party, but you must have a viable alternative on the ballot and vote for that candidate in large enough numbers, even if the candidate doesn't win, you will have sent the message to the Democrats saying you can be replaced. And we don't have to actually win the election. We just need to be seen to cost you the election to a leftist third party candidate, just like happened in 1912. Theodore Roosevelt may not have won,
Sure.
but he still caused the incumbent, William Howard Taft, the guy he had handpicked as his replacement when he stepped down in 1909, to fuck off to go off to safari because he didn't overstay his welcome and immediately regretted it. But he left and came back 4 years later to find that his policies had been pretty much undone under Taft, and so he challenged him for the Republican nomination. That failed, so he started his own party, made Taft place last in a 3-man race. He didn't have to win the election in order to send a clear message. If you want to win future elections, you must implement these policies that we want you to implement. Otherwise, you will never win another election.
Exactly.
And ever since then, we've been stuck in this cycle. Every 4 years or every 2 years, we're told, turn out and vote for the Democrats. Oh, no, you can't vote for a third party. Now's not the time. It's never going to be the time, motherfucker.
Exactly.
Shut the fuck up. It's never going to be the time with you people.
The
Shut
POC
up.
class, Mike.
Right.
That's the POC class for you.
So you can't be this dumb where you keep listening to people who say, oh, third party candidate. No, that third party candidate can win if you turn out in enough numbers to vote. And even if it doesn't win, as long as that candidate wins by a big enough margin that the incumbent is seen to lose to a viable leftist third party candidate, that will send a signal to the Democrats that they need to move further to the left instead of always moving to the extreme right, trying to find some mythical middle ground between whatever the position the Republicans had and the last position that the Democrats had.
Yeah.
Because all that's resulted in is the Democrats moving further and further to the right, and now in many ways they're even further to the right than some Republicans are, at least on paper. In practice, they're all just as extreme right-wing. But when it gets to the point when you've got Thomas Massey and Marjorie Taylor Greene and even fucker Carlson.
Oh, yeah.
Mr. Bowtie Boy himself, before
Candace
he ditched
Owens.
to go to Fox Noise. When even these guys
Candace Owens too.
at least pretend to be anti-war. And that's speaking to the anti-war movement. Why are you letting these assholes have that?
The anti-war movement used to be, the Democrats used to carry that.
Well, they used the anti-war movement after basically after Vietnam. The anti-war movement basically became subservient to the Democrat Party. So they stopped opposing wars as long as they were waged by Democrats, and only started opposing them when Republicans waged wars. So the Democrats were only too happy to use Cindy Sheehan as long as they saw her as being useful as a political tool against George W. Bush and Dick Cheney. But the moment Obama got elected and she kept up her anti-war activism, because Obama continued the wars and didn't even try to end them. In fact, he actually expanded the Bush-Cheney wars from 2 to 7.
Yeah.
And dropped so many bombs that the U.S. actually ran out. So, the moment she made it clear that, no, she wasn't done fighting to oppose war, that's when the Democrats viciously turned on her and relegated her to nobody status.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, you're right, Mike.
So now you've got Code Pink, which, is the organization that she worked with in the early years, and now they've got like Medea Benjamin, I guess, is the face of that group. But even that group has some issues because it's basically adopting a lot of the same bullshit on Russiagate and Syria. That it's like, dude, come on.
Yeah. Yeah, man, it's beyond wild.
Really. So Willie's saying the ATP network, the Democrats are so far right by today's standard that Richard Nixon from 69 to 74 governed to the left of Bill Clinton, Barry Obama, and Joe Braindead. Yes, that is true.
Yeah, that's true. Joe Braindead. That's a good one. Yeah.
Genocide, Jim Crow, Joe Braindead.
Yeah.
I mean, he was displaying cognitive decline even as early as 2019, maybe even earlier.
I remember.
But
Yeah, he didn't even know the preamble to the Constitution. Remember that?
yeah,
He's all man of created.
well, when he met Pope Francis a few years ago, yeah,
Me too.
I'm
Me,
going
me
to
too with it,
remember
Brad.
Joe Brain did, yeah. But when he met Pope Francis a few years ago, when asked, I guess somebody asked him if he knew whose hand he was shaking. He says, "Yes, the famous African American baseball player." And the Pope was like, "What did he say?" It's like he said he called you an African American. Pope Francis was from Latin America
Yeah,
and looked it. You know,
yeah.
I mean, he was a brown person, but he wasn't black, and he wasn't a
No,
baseball player either. So, I mean, and of course, people like Jake Tapper saying, "Oh no, that's just a stutter." No, no, no. A stutter is when you stumble over your own words. I do that.
me
Okay,
too.
constantly. That's not a stutter. That's actually thinking that instead of the Pope, that the Bishop of Rome, that the Pope of Roman Catholicism,
Yeah,
you're calling him an African American baseball player
Jackie
because
Robinson.
your brain is hallucinating that you're talking to someone in sports. That's not a stutter. That is dementia. That is the same kind of shit that my maternal grandfather suffered from. Okay, I know dementia
Exactly.
when I see it. All right.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, he was, and Pope Leo, I think his name. I
Leo.
think I
Yeah.
knew Pope Leo. Yeah, he's basically to the right of Francis, especially on LGBTQIA issues, uh, and only tepidly against the genocide in Gaza. Uh, Francis was on the phone daily to Palestinians
Yep.
anytime he could. So I'm glad that Francis lived as long as he did. I am devastated that he died because COVID hit him hard and wore down his immune system, and he already wasn't in good health to begin with. But I was kind of hoping for a pope who was at least as progressive as he was, and unfortunately, we haven't gotten it.
Yeah. Me
He's
too.
no milquetoast, but he's not a right wing
Yeah.
extremist either. So. I guess we have to be thankful that we didn't get someone along the lines of Ratzinger or John Paul II, because both of them were very extreme right wing. I think people forget just how fascistic John Paul II really was. So,
Yeah.
I think Leo is going to continue Francis's reforms as much as he can. He gave Opus Dei, which is the fascist organization within the Roman Catholic Church. He gave him 6 months to initiate the reform demanded, and I hope he follows through on his threats to disband it, because if he doesn't, there's going to be a problem,
Yeah.
and the church is going to end up moving backward again.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. Hey Mike, you want to talk about the last segment, man? About this Bo Forte motherfucker, man. I got a
Oh
video.
yeah. So there's this moron called Bo Forte, who I guess he's been attacking Green Party members, pretty much anyone on the left, calling them fake leftists. He was complaining about Tired Peasant asking for donations to help her move to Ohio, and he just went on this unhinged rant where he's saying, she wants to move with my money. It's like, okay, well, did you donate? And someone said, did you donate to her GoFundMe? I'll refund it. Just name the amount and I'll send it. It's like, no, I didn't donate to her campaign because I don't donate to panhandlers. And it's like, okay, so you didn't donate money. So how is she moving with your money? Are you
Oh
claiming
my
her money
god.
for yourself, you thief?
What? He called her a thief.
Yeah. It's like, dude, what drugs are you on? And then, of course, I go take a look at his profile, and he's just, yeah. So, okay, well, he says, I know one person who left the Episcopal Church and became Roman Catholic who admired Opus Dei. What a weirdo. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Absolute
true.
weirdo, because
Yeah,
obviously
widow.
you're leaving the more progressive Episcopal Church because it's too liberal for you to join a fascistic Roman Catholic organization, then yeah, you've got some serious mental issues. Uh, but yeah, much like Bo Forte, who apparently ran for a congressional. Oh, he called you fake Catholics. I see. Uh, well,
Uh, yeah,
well, there is a reason why it's a Protestant branch of Christianity, because it broke off from the Catholic Church.
yeah,
Obviously, it's not Catholic.
yeah.
It still uses a lot of the
Protestant.
Catholic traditions because, yeah, much like uh, much like the Anglican Church, which is the British equivalent. So, but yeah, Forte apparently has been attacking Green Party members, and I think you showed me some stuff offline
Yeah,
that he was attacking Jason Cole from. Uh, I forget, but apparently this Forte guy once ran for Congress out of New Jersey, and I was like,
yeah,
yeah, I'm thinking, yeah, it's kind of easy to see, Bo, why you failed to win your congressional race, because with people skills like that,
yeah. Calling everybody grifters, like, yeah,
yeah, it's
yeah.
like,
That's not gonna vote. That's not gonna
dude,
go too well.
none of us are making any money, okay?
Um,
We're either severely underemployed or unemployed, and facing homelessness. In this
yeah,
situation, Liz is moving to Ohio, hopefully to find a job there that'll pay her uh,
yeah,
enough to live on. Although Ohio wages are not, I mean, rents are going up here in Ohio too, especially in the bigger cities like Cleveland and Toledo and Columbus, Cincinnati. That they're going up, but in the small towns, yeah, it's the cost of living is still relatively low. Uh, but then again, wages are also low. So
yeah,
hope I hope, fingers crossed, you find something soon.
yeah. I'm
But
happy to
I'm
find some
presently
too.
yeah, I'm presently unemployed and have no money. To,
Yeah, yeah. And I don't make money off. Mike, you tell them we don't make money off this.
yeah,
Like, we're not even monetized on YouTube.
yeah,
So, and even if we was, like, it wouldn't be much. Like, to make money off this, like, you gotta have
yeah.
million
You got to
millions
be
of views.
doing you got to be doing like a regular schedule, and you got to be growing an audience, and that takes years.
Take
So
years, man.
and then of course, if you're already locked out of the algorithm, I mean, I can understand, although I don't agree with, but I understand why RBN doesn't share Palestinian fundraisers, because people who do get their visibility lowered, like they get shadow banned, and RBN
Me.
unfortunately uh, understands the game and plays it on its
Yes.
own
Sammy
terms.
too.
Which, like I said, I don't agree with it.
I
I'm
don't
not
either.
going to condemn them not necessarily for it. People
Yeah.
got to make their
I,
decisions. But when
yeah,
you've
I
got
get it.
people like Comrade Misty, that feculent moron who spent early 2020, before Biden got sworn in, trying to beg Trump to pardon Julian Assange. Never mind that Julian Assange was only arrested under Trump, who ordered him to be dragged out of the Ecuadorian embassy in London and put in
Yeah, I
prison.
remember that.
And you're going to ask him to pardon Assange as a fuck you to Biden on the way out? Misty, are you stupid? He was never going to pardon Assange. He wanted Assange in prison to begin with.
Yeah.
He was never going to let him out. And then she's been going off on tirades lately against Palestinian fundraisers, claiming they're all, and that's why she doesn't share them.
No, a lot of leftists like that, Mike.
Yeah, and
This
it's
other
like,
person,
dude,
I forgot her.
I don't care if
Yeah.
99% of them are scams. I'm not going to abandon that 1% just on the chance that it might be a scam. Okay, I do pay attention to the accounts who put in the work to verify these people to make
Gaza
sure they're on the
funds.
up and up.
Like, that's why I use Gaza funds. Like, Gaza funds verify them. I'm not gonna just share any random one. Like, Gaza funds is ran by a team of few people. That's why I make sure they verify through them before I share
Yeah,
them to.
yeah. People like Sarah Willett or no,
Yeah,
Molly Shaw over on Blue Sky. not Sarah Willett, Molly Shaw over on Blue Sky verifies Palestinian fundraisers, and then Gaza
Yeah,
Funds verifies accounts. Rio Slade over on Twitter puts in the work to verify people. So there are those that you can actually go to who put in
exactly.
the work because they have the time and energy to do it,
Yeah, yeah. They
and
make they
share
make my life
fundraisers
easier.
that are right, and you can share those fundraisers that are verified.
Exactly. Yeah,
So
yeah. These
it's
people
not for
online.
that reason that you're not sharing fundraisers.
Yeah,
You're not sharing fundraisers because you don't want to run afoul of the algorithm that shadow bans people who share Palestinian fundraisers to escape the genocide.
exactly. Like my
And
account
that
took a
is
hit.
why Comrade Mizzy,
I don't care.
uh,
Yeah,
that's right, Comrade Misty, doesn't share Palestinian fundraisers. That's why Pussy
they
Galorist doesn't share fundraisers. That's why RBN doesn't share fundraisers, although I think they should, okay? Because sometimes
they
you
should.
have to take a hit to your
Yeah,
visibility and reach in order to do what's right. And
yeah,
like I said, I'm not condemning them necessarily because I understand the situation they're in. I mean, Rome was in prison for several months because he ran afoul of the law, and so
five
yeah, that
months.
they're under
Yep.
heavy scrutiny by the authorities, who are looking for any excuse to sweep in and shut them down. So I understand the tightrope that they're walking. I also understand, and again, I'm not necessarily going to browbeat Sabby Sabs for being married to someone who works for a defense contractor because
Oh, me either.
in Austin, you got to take the jobs that are on offer, and unfortunately, you can't always be choosy because the
Yeah.
cost of living in Boston is ridiculous.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, and you might be just a lower rung cog in the machine.
Yeah.
So, I don't know exactly who her husband is or what his job specifically is over at wherever he's working in. Uh, but it's like, so I can kind of understand, the criticism they're receiving. But at the same time, I'm like, I can also see the other side of the coin and the situation that they're in.
Yeah. And
And all I can say is I hope never to be in that situation because I would happily go down than not try and help out wherever and whenever I can. I can't donate money because I'm unemployed and have no income, but I can certainly share fundraisers
yeah,
and
my
try and
my
heighten
account took a
people's
hit.
visibility.
My account took a big hit, Mike. I noticed that. Liz's account took a big hit for a little bit too when she started sharing it. Like, I don't care about visibility, man. Like, look, I get it. Like, I understand people gotta do what they gotta do, decisions wise. But like, people that are in Gaza living around rubble, no food, the imaginary state blocking the food coming to them, or I just heard this from Liz. She said they putting drugs in the flour.
Yeah,
Israel
well,
is.
the good news is that
Um,
baking the flour, even if it's contaminated with drugs, that will render the active ingredients in the drugs inactive.
yeah. Okay. All
So
right.
the
So
right.
yeah.
So but that's just that they're putting stuff into the flour to as a means of psychological warfare.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's
And we
what it
don't know
is.
exactly what these are. They might look like oxycodone or whatever, but even if baking bread made with that flour renders it inactive, the psychological fear tactic of saying, are they putting it to the flour to try and kill us?
Right.
Baby formula has been cut off, so babies are starving to death.
Yep.
If people are
Yeah.
afraid
But
to eat because of fears of poison, that's another part of the starvation campaign.
yeah, part of that
We're
ethnic
witnessing a
cleansing.
Holocaust in real time.
Yep.
And
Yep.
I don't give a shit. I'm not even sorry to say this. I am not remotely sorry to say this. I don't give a shit about Zionist delicate Nazi fifis. If I met a Nazi on the street and I had the opportunity to take that Nazi down, I'm taking it.
Me too, man. punch a Nazi.
I make no distinction between Ukrainian Nazis and Nazis, or Germans, or Hungarian Nazis, or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
If you're a
Ukraine
Nazi,
Nazis.
I don't give a
Yep.
shit what you think or how you feel, because being a Nazi means you're a psychopath. You don't have human feelings.
Yeah. Exactly. So
I mean, are all Nazis psychopaths? I think so.
they are.
Not all
Oh yeah,
psychopaths are Nazis, but all Nazis are psychopaths.
that's true. That's true. so so yeah. All right. I guess we'll wrap it up here, Mike. Man, it's been a good stream, man. I ain't gonna lie.
Yeah,
We
thanks.
got 100. We got 142 people watching. So yeah, man. So yeah, y'all. Before we go, man, like y'all go and support my guy Mike, man. He putting in the work. He gonna have a bigger role now in the ATP network to help me out and Liz. So y'all can help him by donating to his GoFundMe. Hey Mike, you want me to pull it up or you will?
Yes, please. Yeah, my tab is not close enough to be able to call it up
Okay.
immediately.
Okay, I pull it up. Hold on. Yeah, I'm finna pull it up, and I'm gonna put the link in the description too. Yeah, I can do that. Hold on. So pull it up right here. There we go. So this is his GoFundMe right here. Um, you know,
Yeah, and if you
you
want to put
know,
it in the comments too, that
yeah,
should show up there.
yeah. All right, it's in the comments. Yeah. So yeah, I put it in the comment section right there. So yeah, man, like let's surpass his goal of $700, guys. He has bills and he's unemployed. He's trying to find a job.
And
I
I'm
know some of
also
y'all
I only have a month left before I have to move.
Oh, I ain't know that.
Yeah, yeah. I was put under a deadline of August 1st by my aunt, whom I'm living with, to move out. I won't get into the reasons why, but I was given the deadline of August 1st. She thought it would be easy, that I should just be able to get a job just like that, and she is not. She doesn't seem to understand. You cannot just get a job straight away, especially if
That's a
you're
boomer.
unemployed and over 50. It's almost impossible. So, I've
Yeah.
been trying to get my resume updated to the point where it'll get noticed and working on that. And so far, haven't had any real luck.
Yeah.
But it's going to take a lot longer than what she seems to think. So, but she's dead set on evicting me if I'm not out by August 1st. So I have to have a job before then, so I can start saving up and have some place to go to.
Yeah. Yeah.
While I'm trying to get my TEFL certification, because if I don't get this completed by September 10th, I have to start all over again.
Oh, damn. Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, y'all. That's the links is in the comments, and also it'll be in the description on YouTube. So yeah, y'all. Any amount helps. I know I've been promoting Liz a lot, but I need to start promoting you more, Mike, because like I know you going through a lot right now, and then you helping me out with this network. So at least I can owe it to you by promoting this. So hopefully you get more donations and stuff by then. So yeah.
I'm also putting in my Cash App and my Venmo.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah. Yeah. So like I tell people, if you want to throw Mike a bone or two, go ahead, guys. Anything helps. So yeah. Y'all. So Mike, any last words before we head out?
Yeah. God help the people of Palestine and Iran.
Yeah. Yeah. Most definitely.
And I will not repeat what the singers at Kneecap got the crowd chanting over in Glastonbury, because that will get us shut down. But
yeah.
I do echo the sentiments.
Yeah, me too. Oh yeah, me too. Um, so yeah, before we go, like the video if you're watching on YouTube and Rumble. Well, YouTube, we're not on Rumble, but like the video. Um, don't be like these other kooks on Twitter that say don't promote Palestinian mutual aid. Go to GazaFunds.com. Promote it. You know, you know, yeah, your account might take a hit. Mine took a hit, but I don't give a fuck. People come before fucking clout on Twitter. So go to GazaFunds.com, and also on the bottom of the screen, follow us on Twitter, the ATP Network Twitter account at ATP Network 207. So, all right, Mike. Tomorrow you're gonna be streaming, so I might stop in for a few minutes or whatnot.
I've
So
got some news to share about my Twitter account. My main, it didn't start off as my main account. It became my main account after 2020, and my previously main account went mostly inactive. I'll go into all of that tomorrow night. But
okay.
yeah, some things happen with that. Hopefully, they'll be resolved within the next 5 days. But I made a backup account, and even that's giving problems. So,
Oh man, good. Yeah, man. All right. So, all right, guys. We'll catch y'all tomorrow. Peace out, Mike.
yeah, good night. Good luck.